Hey everyone, Groovy Guy Tom here with a reissue from our back catalogue. Today we're diving into our hot take on the best and worst Zeppelin albums, featuring the stunning revelation that Groovy Guy Chris isn't really a Zeppelin fan. Enjoy.
Right, here we go. Number one, best/worst Zeppelin albums.
Nice.
Okay.
I think that's a good one to start with.
I reckon there'll be some pretty common themes here.
Yeah, me too.
So let's do a whip around in the order that we started with. So, Matt, what is your favourite Zeppelin album and what is your least favourite Led Zeppelin album?
This one, honestly, this is hard. I think favorite is going to be 4. That is probably my all-time favorite. That thing just slaps from beginning to end. It's got all but one of my favorite Zeppelin songs. Well, sorry, that's actually not true. It's got the majority of my favorite Led Zeppelin songs on it. One of my favorites, though, one of my favorite Zeppelin songs is "Fool in the Rain." That's not on there, unfortunately. I think the worst one, I'm gonna have to say "In Through the Outdoor," and it's hard to say what's the worst one because they're all good. Like I enjoy them all.
Yeah,
but that's my take.
Interesting though that one of your favorite songs is on your least favorite album. That just shows how strong it is. It's a hard choice. I'll be honest, it's a toss up between that and Coda, for me. Oh wow, I actually really love Coda.
Same. That's interesting because Coda's actually, I would rank it above 3 other records by them.
Oh, fair enough. And maybe, you know what? Maybe for me, it's just the one I've maybe listened to the least.
Yeah. There's no wrong answers here.
I went back and listened through Physical Graffiti again the other day and just, goddamn, I forgot how many amazing songs are off that album. Like,
it's so good.
Unbelievable. It's just like great song after great song after great song. I don't care if the song is 4 minutes long. I don't care if it's 9 minutes long. They're all amazing.
Very nice. Mr. Lozier.
Okay, so for me, this is for me to pick the best album by them. It's a very easy pick for me. It's Zeppelin 3. For me, it's like when you listen to 1 and 2, you're getting really heavy duty blues rock. Mm-hmm. And then 3, they really went on a different path with that one. And they're kind of stretching a lot of different genres, but I think they're focusing a lot more on the blues aspect. Like hats off to Roy Harper, Bronner Stomp. Those are very like blues focused, folk focused songs.
Yep.
Friends though, I don't know how you can describe that song, especially for the era that it was released in. It's just like very intense folk rock that I don't think you've ever heard at the time. But for me, the song that really, and it's one of my favorite songs of all time, is "Since I've Been Loving You." I remember hearing that song for the first time, and this was like a deep cut after I had already been, like I'd already solidified Zeppelin being one of my favorite bands when I was a teenager. And I don't think I never went to Zeppelin 3. I was just really focusing on 1, 2, 4 and Physical Graffiti. Mm-hmm. And it was my older brother who was like, you really got to listen to 3. And it was "Since I've Been Loving You." That was the first song you listened to. And then all those other songs I mentioned came after that.
And then you've still got that just punch you in the guts immigrant song that kicks it all off.
Yeah, exactly. Right. Yeah. Like it's from front to back. I think it's their most, it's the one that goes from the most different genres, maybe other than say Physical Graffiti. Cause that one is like, it's very experimental, but.
Oh yeah. That's all over the place.
Since I've Been Loving You, I got to talk about it a little bit more. I mean, Madison Square Garden, 1973. There's a clip of that song being played on "Song Remains the Same" on the record and also on the DVD that they are on the film that they released. But there's also a deep cut of a Zeppelin sort of, I don't know what you want to call it, greatest hits. I don't know what the DVD's called, but I remember getting when I was a kid.
Is it How the West Was Won?
I don't know. I don't think it was How the West Was Won, but this is like an alternative take of that Madison Square Garden recording. And it's different to what you hear in Song Remains the Same. but that is the all-time best. Jimmy Page really hits it out of the ballpark.
Nice.
And there's moments in that song where his guitar play is so subtle and also so heavy. And there are moments in my life where I would play that song. Like there's a day in my life where I listened to that song probably 20 times in a row.
Amazing.
That's how great it was. And it was like
Awesome.
I was like trying to sell my soul to the devil, to be like, hey, if the devil's listening to me, grant me the power to play guitar like that, because that is peak guitar play for me right there.
The way you just described Jimmy Page's playing too is like the perfect description of him, you know, that light and shade.
Yeah.
Yeah, like the song builds up, right? Like it's a very actually simply written song, but it's very long. It's 8 minute song. When Plant's vocals hits that crescendo at the end, and then it really dies down, and then it's the iconic riff of that song, and then Bonham comes in with the drums again, like it's a hair raiser. Well, I mean, I could keep talking about that song. Like I'm just so in love with that song. I can listen to it anytime, any place. I'll never get sick of it. For me, the record I hate the most by them, and I really don't like this record. Like Zeppelin is one of my favorite bands. Coda actually is a hot take in itself. I think it's probably their most contentious. Like I think you either love it or you hate it, or I should say hate that you dislike it. But for me, it's Presence. Presence. I feel like when they went with Physical Graffiti, they really experimented with it. They went too far off the deep end in their experimentation. Maybe it was the drugs. Maybe it was the partying.
In Presence,
I don't think there are any really strong songs on Presence.
Achilles' Last Stand.
I don't think that's that strong of a song.
Second best Jimmy Page guitar solo.
Yeah, but it's okay, fine, but it's just a solo. Like, give me, like, I have a hard time listening to that song front to back.
Wow.
Sure, the guitar solo is great, but it's such a slow build up to get anywhere. I find the song to be really boring. I find the whole album to be very boring. In Through the Outdoor, though, Hot Dog, Fool in the Rain, like those are strong tracks. Yeah. And for me, I would rank it above Presence.
That's really interesting take.
That's fair.
I love it.
All right, Mosey, bringing out the fire. I like it.
Okay, so you've given me a lot to think about, Dan. The one thing it's always hard to say like best and worst or most favorite or least favorite artist. Like for me, it's fluid and it changes. And like when I've had periods of time where I've had the opportunity to sit down and listen to discogs, like a band's discography from start to finish, I find different things that I like about it at that time. And like my ranking of albums for artists that I have a lot of time for, like bands like Zeppelin and Sabbath and Floyd, it's like a constant race. It's like a never ending.
Yeah, I agree.
But this is hot takes. So I can't just sit on the fence. So I love Zeppelin 3 and I agree with everything you said about that, Dan. I love Zeppelin 4. I agree with everything you said about that, Matt. I love Zeppelin 1 and 2 for the obvious reasons. But at the moment, my favorite Zeppelin album, which I think I neglected for a long time, I just kind of I underappreciated, is Physical Graffiti.
It's so good.
It's not a surprising pick.
It's a beast of an album.
It really is.
It's a double LP of just cream of the crop. And like you said, Dan, they were pushing themselves to try new sounds. It was 1975, so they're that's quite a time from when they released their first album. And there's just, like The Rover, Trampled Underfoot, Kashmir. Like, I know Kashmir's been overplayed.
For me, this is a hot take on that album, Down by the Seaside.
Dude,
yep.
I was just going to say that.
When they go from the breakdown and then it goes back into the guitar riff, it's the smoothest transition in any Zeppelin song, and that gets me every single time.
The thing is, so too, you can listen to this album because of the scale of it. You can listen to it in, you know, like 10 times in a row and find a different appreciation point each time you're listening to it. So that's why at the moment it's on the top of the tree for me.
Yeah.
It's on the Rushmore of Zeppelin albums for me.
Yeah. In My Time of Dying, another beast of a song.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
So, man.
I do think it's weird that Houses of the Holy ended up on this album and not on Houses of the Holy.
Yeah, isn't that funny?
That is a bit weird, but hey, it is what it is. It's a fantastic song.
Yeah. I'm not actually sure why that is. But I actually only got a copy of this recently on vinyl, like maybe last year. I picked up a Japanese
I only got mine in the summer.
But yeah, great album. And then Dan, for the simple fact that I love Achilles' Last Stand so much, I can't put Presence at the bottom of the ladder, even though, you know, it's down there. But for me, and I'll explain this, my least favorite Zeppelin album is In Through the Outdoor, and it's because I don't think it's a Zeppelin album. Like, to me, it's a John Paul Jones album, and it's too far removed from Zeppelin's core sound that I prefer to think of it as a John Paul Jones album than to categorize it. And then if I did that, Presence would be at the bottom, because I just think it's so far removed from the Zeppelin sound.
That is the hot take that I'm here for.
That's fair, yeah.
Appreciate that you said that, because you're right. I mean, for the most part, Zeppelin was always mostly produced by Jimmy Page, right?
Yeah.
In my opinion, like, you can talk about all the guys in that band and them being at the absolute top. Like, they could all be on let's talk about it again, the Mount Rushmores of singers, guitar players, drummers.
Yeah.
Great. The best musician in the band was John Paul Jones.
Absolutely.
Oh, yeah. Yep. Absolutely.
Hands down.
Multi-instrumentalist. And that album, for for various reasons, that was Plant and John Paul Jones driving that album. So, but really the influence of John Paul Jones is strong on it. And yeah, it just feels like a different vibe.
Yeah, it totally does. I agree with you.
Christopher, over to you.
As you've probably noticed, I'm pretty quiet on this topic. I'm not like a Zeppelin fan, which
that's a hot take.
Right.
That is a hot take. Which I knew about you too, Chris. And I think we debated this a lot.
This is new information.
Yeah. It's not that I don't like Zeppelin. I think I brought it up in like the group chats before. It's just like, I love my dad, sweet dude. But when he gets into like albums, he plays the same songs over. He's as bad as Canadian radio. He plays the hits over and over again. And as I'm hearing you guys talk about all this, like these other songs, half of them, I was like, do you know what? The name sounds familiar, but I couldn't even tell you like what the song's about or how it even sounds, what the melody is. The only album, Zeppelin album I go back to constantly is 4. It's it's the only Zeppelin album I have in my collection, and it gets played all the time. And it's one of those ones I don't get sick of. So for that, my hot take is I can't pick one that I don't like, because I haven't actually, and it's my ignorance, I haven't dived into the genre, because I just know, the radio hits, and then the best of Columbia House CD that we had when I was, in elementary school, that was played during dinner, right? So definitely hearing it now, I'm sure the group chat is going to flood in of where to start, just like
recommendations,
just like when we jumped in with the Rolling Stones, where it was the same thing. I kind of was like, I know this album, and that's my whole Rolling Stones collection sort of thing. So that's my hot take, is I guess I need to open myself up to more Zeppelin. And I was going to just pick a random album and see what you guys thought, but I thought that would be, disingenuine of me.
I was almost prepared to hear your favorite album being Presence, because that is a Chris Palumbo move. It'd be like, I like this genre of music, I don't like that genre of music.
Yeah, right. Which is this wheel. That was the only topic I was like, and I knew it was going to land on it. Look, I even have this like ready.
Nice, ready to go.
It was the one I didn't want. I was so ready for U2, and I was so ready for best song. And I was
So the
like,
one thing I
"Who's-"
will say with like Zeppelin is I think honestly the best songs of theirs aren't even played on the radio.
Yep.
Agreed.
Like there's so many good
Great
like
point.
there's so many like bomb songs that have probably never touched, like a lot of people probably don't even know them because they've never, like they don't hear them on the radio, which is kind of sad because it's their biggest body of work, or sorry, some of their best body of work. You know, one song that sticks out to me is Going to California. It's funny. There's a funny story. I was listening on a podcast early last week, and it shows up at the end of Entourage as the show's kind of wrapping up. And as you guys probably know, Led Zeppelin's very, very cautious with how they license their music out to other shows or commercial advertisements and stuff like that to feature their songs. And this was one of the few that they actually let happen because they presented it to them all at the same time. I guess this is something that this is just one way that they kind of work. They all have to know that they're all getting it at the same time. One's not getting more than the other one. And they agreed to let it fly. And then once the episode aired, it ended up becoming one of the most Shazam songs in that time period. And it actually, what's really cool is it kind of opened up the band's eyes to see, wow, there's actually still this market for our music in the modern age. So they've been a little more friendly with licensing out their songs as of late. The only other film that kind of sticks out to me where they've allowed their music to be played is Almost Famous, when they're on their way to New York City. What you got, Tom?
School of Rock, Jack
Yeah,
Black.
that's right. You're right. Sorry,
Song.
I forgot about that.
So
that's my
good.
bad. Yeah,
Actually,
that's my bad.
the story behind that is that knowing that Zeppelin had reluctance to give away copyrights to their songs for film, Jack Black during one of the scenes where he's playing the show at the venue at the end of the movie, he presented a video to release to Jimmy Page and Robert Plant, who had the rights to that song at the time, and saying, and basically like pleading to them, and you can actually find this on YouTube. It's like,
That's cool.
and then it's saying
cool.
like, please let us have the rights to this song. It would make this scene so epic. And then it's Jack Black playing Immigrant Song.
Amazing.
Oh, wow.
That's amazing.
And so that when Jimmy and Robert Plant saw that, they're like, yeah, this is a movie about rock and roll. What Jack Black is saying, like, you know, a movie about rock and roll needs to have a Zeppelin song in it. And to me, the Zeppelin song needs to be in there as Immigrant Song. And then he starts singing Immigrant Song, and he actually, in Jack Black fashion, absolutely nails it.
So
Nice.
good. I love him, and I love that movie.
Yeah. Movie. He's been all over the internet lately. He's great.
He's
Yeah, he
hilarious.
is.
His social media is hilarious.
Yeah, I was so excited. Star Wars Day, he did some good stuff.
Oh, I didn't see that. I got to see that.
Check out his Instagram. It's
Everybody,
outrageous.
check out the other Groovy Guys podcast where we just talk about Jack Black all day.
Yeah, that can be a whole episode. Oh, that would be a good episode.
Jack, if you're listening, please come on the show.
Yep. That's awesome.
Right. Wow. That first hot take was fire. I loved that.
Yeah, that was good.
Fantastic. Yeah.
The Groovy Guys are Tom Kennedy, Dan Lozier, Chris Palumbo, and Matt Carvalho. With your host, Tom Kennedy. Music by Dan Lozier, post-production by Matt, and album art by Chris.